Now, many months ago, a very good friend of the channel, whilst live on a live stream, handmade us some items. And these items were crafted on a forge in Texas by Sam Stapleton. And this video is to celebrate 14,000 subscribers. And I think that's a massive achievement. But for massive achievements, we like to do something special on the channel. So today is another unboxing video. But before I unbox this wonderful item, and I got a vague idea what I've been sent as I did watch the live stream. If you are a craftsman, if you are a trader, and if you would like to send us, Northworthy, some historical Norse or Anglo-Saxon or medieval items for us to review. Maybe you're a trader and you often get items which are not quite scratch and you don't know what to do with them. Well, send them to us. We'll give you a good review, and in turn that'll be good for your business. Or if you're a craftsman and you take a lot of pride in what you make, you might want to get your name out there, or you might want to just share your ability to craft things on camera and have them reviewed by somebody like me. Now, I've been reenacting for nearly 30 years and I know a lot about history, and I love the Dark Ages, the early medieval times. And today's parcel is something very special. And this is the first time on the channel that somebody has crafted something for us. And I think that's really amazing. So before you see a parcel. I have blackened out my address and Sam's address. But, you know, if you live in America, if you're into medieval reenacting and you want some spearheads or a knife crafting, then I would recommend talking to Sam. Because now and again he does take commissions on, and he is a superb craftsman. Not only is he a craftsman, he is also passing down the skills to his daughter, who I find amazing, because when you have a skill you should pass it on to your next generation, to your sons and your daughters. So we have this parcel. I've been itching to open up this parcel. It's the first time we've been sent something from America, from Texas. Oh yes, and one day I would love to go there. And as traditional on the channel, the tradition is to use a good old knife. I'm using my favourite Sagas, which I've had for many years, and I'm carefully going to pierce the box and slide my knife in, but without going too far. And I think it's amazing that we've achieved 14,000 subscribers on the channel. And in a further video I will look at these items in depth. They're going to have, if they're javelin heads, which I believe they may be, or even arrow heads, they're going to need to be fastened onto a shaft of some sort, and that will be another interesting video for another day. But I will make a video looking at these in depth. And I do know there's a delicate item in here which Sam has asked me to check out and make sure that they've been sent okay and not received damage. So the first thing to do, we have a little parcel in here. We have some little bubble wrap. I think we'll burst that. That's gone. We can get rid of the rubbish. And as tradition, when it comes to unboxing, you always get your packaging and you always just throw it off camera, preferably at the cameraman. So we have a little wrapping of something in here. So we're going to carefully unwrap these. Now these, I do believe, have been sent blunt because it's a little bit difficult to send items that are sharp. And I think it's amazing that they've come from America, a country I love and I've been to twice to reenact history. So I see something in a little parcel, so I'm going to try to carefully unwrap this. So I don't know what's in here. So this could be delicate. And then we have some Direwolf Forge. So that's his name. So love the name, Direwolf Forge. That's absolutely love that. Brilliant. So, and if you wanted to contact Sam, it's at Sam Stapleton. So that's SAMSTAPLETON 3739. I assume that's your email. But we will put you a link, and I will link your profile on YouTube. So the first thing we have is a really nice little javelin spearhead. And I love the fact he's got a little wolf for his maker's mark. I think that's really, really wonderful. And you can really tell that this has been really put together really nicely. And the socket is superb. And you've already got a hole in, so you can nail it onto to a shaft. So that's really nice. It's not too sharp, so I can sharpen that at some point. That's really nice, that is. And we have a little disc which have this basically on this disc we have dots embossed, and then around it we have, in the center is his logo, and I think that's really nice. It's like a token. You could say that's like a token of the manufacturer, because this was a traditional thing to do back in the day. So for instance, you know, you may be living in Norway and you're, you know, sailing to Northumbria, to Jorvik to trade. Well, you have all your goods in a leather bag, and inside your bag you'll have some sort of a token. Normally, back in the day, it would be a wooden stave with a runic inscription. But that's just a really nice modern interpretation. I think that would make a really nice pendant as well. So we have another look. So we have an arrowhead, and this is a bodkin arrowhead. This is designed to go through chainmail, and I assure you it will do. And having one of these sticking in you is not a nice experience. You could wear your chainmail and have a gambeson and a leather jerkin, and it will probably still go through all of them. So at some point we will find some nice shafts or some arrows. And there's 3 more in here. There's a little tiny little kind of a javelin head, or a head of a arrow. We have another sort of a bodkin, which is a shorter one. Again, great to go through armour. And this would also go through plate armour as well. So they're really nice. And then we have a arrow head, or a kind of a very tiny javelin head, because javelin heads are not always big, they can be tiny. And this has like 4 prongs. This is really nice. I can definitely tell you've got some really good skill when it comes to forging. That's amazing. I don't have one of them in my collection, and I certainly don't have anything like these. So I'm really happy that you sent me these, because these will make really good representations of arrows, and that's a really lovely javelin head. So that's the package empty, throw that away. And then we have something in here which I do believe is delicate. So let's just take our time and we will investigate what it could be, and whether it has survived the journey from the United States of America. And I don't know what it is. It could be bone, it could be something, you know, and I haven't got a clue. And I'm trying to be careful. I think I'm getting there with it. I've also very recently, after this, well, before this video, I've also filmed the 15,000 celebration video, which I think we'll probably achieve by the summertime. So being very careful, very, very careful. And getting closer to it. Ah. Ah, so this looks like a native Indian arrowhead. Wow, that's a little tiny flint arrowhead. I don't know whether you've made that, Sam, or whether you found it, but that's amazing. I don't think there's anything else in there. No. So yes, it survived the journey. So those are really nice items. So yeah, I do recommend checking out Sam. I love his little motif of a wolf's head. Now sometimes on javelin heads and spearheads there's a hole on both sides, but it depends. Sometimes there's one hole and they're just nailed on, which is very, efficient way of doing it. And then sometimes they're riveted on. So you could do either way with them. But these are really nice items, especially this. And you really got the molding, the fire molding of this of this bit of the cone where the shaft goes into. You really done a superb job of that. And I love the blackness of it, the darkness on these items. I will include some pictures and some close-up videos. And at another point on the channel, I will make an in-depth video on these because I think they're definitely worth making. I can't wait to get that used and put onto a shaft or a haft. Amazing. And I just love the dark colour. I really do. And it does make me think why Saxes sometimes aren't dark, because this dark colour is from the heating of the metal during the process, but also it prevents rust. So they were so clever to know that having your metal darkened prevented rust. And you have to look after these items. So I think that's absolutely superb. Now, in return, at some point, when I've got some money and I get some more wool in, I'm going to make Sam a cloak and send him a cloak back in return, because this is a gift. And when you send a gift to Northworthy, you will fundamentally get a gift back, whether it's a hat, whether it's a cloak, depending what I've got around material-wise at the time. But yeah, I think that's amazing, and I'm so glad the little arrowhead has survived. I mean, so tiny, but yet so effective. The precursor of the metal arrowhead. And of course, what we often don't think about when it comes to archers is that, bowmen were the first people to use chemical warfare. Well, what do you mean by that? People are saying right now behind the camera. Well, so for instance, you're an archer, you're a bowman. You're going to have a rag on you, and that rag is going to be covered in animal feces, and you're going to wipe the head of the arrow with the animal feces so that there's dirt and muck on the arrowhead. What happens? It lands, or even if it just scrapes you, you're going to risk getting an infection. And a simple cut from an arrow is fundamentally, going to end up killing you, because you're going to end up getting sepsis and blood poisoning. And I saw this very recently in a TV show called Yellowstone. I think it was the 1883 one, where the woman got shot by an Indian arrow, and because it was mucky, she had no way of surviving because they didn't have antibiotics like we do today. So yes, I mean, you think about this sticking in you. You're wearing chomo, or you may be one of the elite warriors, the top class professional warrior and soldier. You got a nice gambeson and a leather jerkin and nice ring shirt of riveted mail. But an archer, a bowman, has stuck this in the ground, or got normally what they have like a tail of an animal, and the tail, like the tail of the fox, that's what's got the muck on and the residue from the animal dung. So they wipe the arrowhead in that, the infected material goes on the arrow and that pierces you, even a little tiny bit, half inch goes into your body, well, you're going to end up getting infected, and that will most probably lead to your death, and a slow and agonizing death. You can see now, back in the medieval times, why people preferred to, die on the battlefield, because, having blood poisoning and having a slow and agonizing death, and people didn't understand such things back in the day, because they didn't have the medical knowledge unlike we have. And it wasn't really until probably the 19th century, probably the Crimean War and the American Civil War, did we start to understand more about medical side of infections. And you got to go real back in time to the Romans, who were very proficient at looking after their soldiers, because a soldier in the Roman times cost money to train. Equally the same in the Anglo-Saxon times. So yeah, I think that's really nice. I love that. That's really nice as well. What you could have done is done a ring and dot pattern. So you have a ring and a dot is the middle bit. That will be quite authentic. But that'll make a nice necklace, that, and that'll be a project for another day. So yes, I think Egil, if he was here, he'll be really proud at your craftsmanship and your skill. And I definitely know where to go if I want a nice knife making in the future. Or, I'd love to see you have a go at silver inlay. I'd love to see you do that as well. So do check out Sam Stapleton's website. I don't know if you've got a website, but Direwall Forge, Sam Stapleton. He's often see him in the comments. Do say hello, and if you want something in America, or even if you're in Europe and you fancy something being made in America. And another thing I think about these, they're really good in sizes. They're not too big. That's perfect. That is for a javelin head. And these are really perfect in size for arrowheads as well. And there are quite a lot of different designs of arrowheads. So it's something I want to get into in the future, and buy a longbow and have the ability to practice shooting a longbow in my garden, because I am quite lucky. I've got a large garden, I could do that. So I think these are absolutely amazing. My favourite piece out of it will probably be this one with the different sort of head, because I just don't have nothing like that. And whether that's used for hunting or whether that's used for, when it's spinning around and it hits you, it's going to start, cutting and making a bigger hole. So, that's going to be quite lethal. And I just think they've got a nice feel to them. And you can tell they're being made with love, and that's what I like. And these will sharpen up really nice in the future. So yes. So if you have anything to send to us to unbox, if you're a trader, if you're a manufacturer abroad and you would like to have some reviews done, because we are professionals, we do have a lot of knowledge, we do have and get a lot of views on the channel. The channel is growing really nicely this year, so I'm predicting we're going to be close to 20,000 subscribers by the end of December in 2026 is my prediction. And I reckon by then we'll have probably 5,000 videos published or heading towards that, which I think is an amazing feat. But until we meet again, if you have any comments, if you've got any suggestions for other videos, and if Sam leaves a message on the video, I will pin it as the main comment, so you can find Sam straight away. And no doubt his YouTube has an email address, and you can send all inquiries about having anything made to Sam. And I think amazing, and I love your business card, and you can just see a close-up of his design for his stamp as well. And not enough people actually take the time to create a stamp and a maker's mark. So I think that's amazing. And I did tell Eirik about your items you've sent me, and I think he was wanting to send you a message perhaps. So I'll remind Eirik And until we meet again, it's goodbye from me. Ha, goodbye. Amazing. I'm well chuffed.